Right, hi everyone, we are back in Babbity Bowster in the merchant city of Glasgow to chat about an important 3 points for Celtic. Celtic 2, Aberdeen 1 this afternoon. Euan is with me. Feels like quite a big victory, that one. Euan, almost kind of similar to the one we had at Pittodrie 8 or so weeks ago.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm actually from south of Aberdeen myself, so I've got a bunch of pals, family even, who are going to be disappointed tonight.
Can we all just abuse Euan now in the comments, please?
You can now, yeah. So that explains the non-accent. But a lot of them are going to be disappointed tonight, and I think that's great. It was a hard-fought win, for sure. Aberdeen brought a lot to the table, but extra quality showed out with a brilliant Kel McGregor finish that is going to make at least, if not goal of the month, goal of the season contention, I would say.
They all count, I think, is the phrase you say. We'll work our way through the match. I always like to start with the team announcement. Couple of wee surprises in there today. For some, perhaps. Some among us predicted James Mccarthy starting today. Listen, if you look closely enough at Ange's pre-match comments during the week, you got the impression he was going to maybe throw McCarthy in today. We'll come on to his performance. For me, the more interesting bit was Abada starting over James Forrest. I don't know if that was just a case of James Forrest only recently back. His first start was on Thursday night, ran himself into the ground a bit. Maybe it was just a case of resting him today. I don't think we're nearly as effective with Abada in the team in place of James Forrest, and I think you saw that today when Forrest came on. Yeah, I'm a bit worried about Abada. He was so explosive when he first came to Celtic. His direct running, he was getting to the byline, which last few seasons Celtic wingers haven't really done to a great extent. And it could just be a case of too much too fast for him. Maybe he's a wee bit burnt out, but he just didn't really provide any sort of thrust or kind of energy when he was on the ball. He just he's lacking something for me. But I think what Ange's done, bringing back injured players in the last month or so, because he's had to throw players in, I don't think he ever wants to do that again. Players that have ever just arrived or come back from injury. And so you see guys like Mikey Johnston, like James Forrest being staggered along a wee bit. And I think that is the right approach long term, but we look so much more dangerous with James Forrest on the pitch. Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. I was just a little bit surprised to see Abada back in, but as I say, when you take everything into account, the fact that Forrest is only just back, and as you say, I think Ange, at the start of the season, he had to throw players into the team. Joe Hart came right in, I think, the day after he signed. Carol Starfelt came right. I met Carol Starfelt today at half time, by the way, I should say that. Lovely guy. Forgot to ask him about when he's going to be back from injury, which was a huge mistake. But, he threw players like that, and Kyogo went basically straight into the team at Tynecastle. Yeah. Now he's got the option to when players are returning from injury, he can take his time with them and not overexpose them. The game today, I thought, Aberdeen kind of pressed us early on in the game. That was something that was quite noticeable. They were kind of coming out to play, and they certainly sensed an opportunity to stop us passing the ball about easily at the back. But as that first half went on, they kind of dropped a bit deeper, and we got that opening goal. Jota, a really patient goal, I felt, from Celtic. A really underrated goal as well. I thought it was a really good move and a really good finish from Jota. At that stage, we deserved the lead at that stage, and you kind of felt it was going to be a relatively routine afternoon.
Relatively, yeah. I think what Scott Brown brings to that team is really obvious. There's a lot more kind of intensity. There's a lot more. They like to pack the middle with a lot of players. To that extent, I actually thought that we struggled a wee bit. Kel McGregor wasn't getting his normal passes. He looked actually a wee bit, I don't want to say rattled, but unsettled, certainly. And obviously we'll get to McCarthy, but I thought tactically they were very interesting. I think Stephen Glass would play really good football if he had the players to do it en masse. And they
tried to play today, Aberdeen, which I thought was to their credit. But I thought we played better stuff in the first half. We deservedly led. The one thing we haven't touched on, Joe Hart gets quite a bad collision early on in the game. On a side note, I don't know if I've ever been at a football match in my life with more head knocks. I mean, there was at least 7 or 8 of them went in both sides. I think Kevin Clancy, who was the ref, made a rod for his own back by letting so many of them happen early on in the game. And I think both teams sense an opportunity in the second half, go down clutching your face or your head, and Clancy's going to stop the play. But Joe Hart did seem to take quite a bad one in the early stages. I thought the attacker was quite late in on him, and it was one of those you were kind of waiting on him just getting back up straight away, or it's a wee knock but he'll get up. But he was down on the ground for 4 or 5 minutes right at the start of the game.
Yeah, I couldn't help but think of the Head and Shoulders advert where he needs someone to come on and apply shampoo to him. But no, in all seriousness, you do sort of wonder whether, it's the wise decision to have, if someone's obviously that out of it for a few minutes with a head knock, is it really that wise to keep them on the pitch? That's probably a debate for much more medically informed people than me to have. But I thought he recovered really well from that. Made some excellent saves. The anxiety he gives me sometimes when he's on the ball is a different thing. It would be ironic if I went bald from stress watching the guy who advertised Head and Shoulders, but he was excellent, I thought, for most of the game. Another really commanding performance, and what an addition he's been, by the way.
Didn't have a lot to do, but he did make one really good save, which actually led to the corner, which led to the penalty for the Aberdeen goal, but a really good save low down to his right and tipped it wide of the post. On the Aberdeen penalty, have you had a chance to see it again?
I'll sound like Arsene Wenger, but I've not seen it. I haven't seen the incident.
My opinion on it, and people feel free to agree in the chat, I'm sure, or disagree. I'm sure you'll mainly disagree. I thought it probably was a soft penalty, but a penalty. I thought the fella, I think it's David Bates, was playing for it, but I thought it was foolish. For the life of me, I can't remember. I want to say it was a batter, maybe with the challenge, and I thought he kind of dangled a lazy leg, and I think the Aberdeen player is going to take advantage of that. It was of the soft variety, and maybe some certain teams are more likely to get it than others, but I kind of felt, if I'm being totally honest, that it probably was a penalty. Joe Hart got the fans rallied. I was thinking he's going to make his big penalty save, Fraser Forster style. Didn't happen. Lewis Ferguson scores it, shushes the Celtic support, and we're kind of back to square one. I thought the end of the first half we looked quite nervy.
Yeah, definitely.
I didn't think the press was quite as effective today from Celtic. I think Aberdeen were able to play through the press on a couple of occasions in the first half, and the minute they got past that midfield, they looked quite dangerous.
Yeah.
Now maybe that's just Aberdeen, because as much as they're, I think they're 8th or 9th in the table, they do have good players. They are better than your average teams in the league, Ross County, Livingston, etc. Maybe they're just going to have spells where they play out through the press. But I thought it was a little alarming today. I thought we looked a little bit leggy, maybe from Thursday night. And there were a couple of occasions when they got out in the first half and looked quite dangerous. Half time, I was a bit concerned. I've been the doom monger over the last couple of days in the channel, predicting that it was going to be stuffy, predicting that it was going to be difficult today. But I thought, to our credit and to Ange's credit, second half we came out firing, all cylinders. I thought we were excellent the way we started that second half. Real intent about our play. I thought Jota was electric. I thought David Turnbull was really at it. I thought Callum McGregor was driving the team forward. Juranovic and Ralston were really impressive. And I thought, as much as the goal we get is very fortunate, I thought we deserved that bit of luck for the way we started the second half. I think this team has a lot of guts. And,
yes, it does.
And I think that's something people haven't really spoken about much. They've kind of spoken about the sparkle in football, and at times they've spoken about the leaky defence, especially in Europe. But I thought today they showed a lot of guts in that second half, because that's a big game today.
It is.
We're going into that game 7 points behind at the top of the table. At half time, we're struggling at home, 1 each to Aberdeen, and I thought the team came out and really answered a lot of critics in the second half.
Yeah, and it was quite like the St Johnstone game at Hampden in some respects. You could tell that Ange gave a pretty emphatic half-time team talk, because the energy they came out with, and it's natural, after 45 minutes of football, having just been in Germany and having just given everything to that, there was going to be some tiredness. I thought in the first half, the front three, Jota accepted, were quite static. I think Kyogo wasn't really getting many opportunities, and he did look quite huffy on an occasion when he wasn't really in a particularly great position, but he was still annoyed he wasn't getting the ball over to him. But the energy in the second half, as you say, was a lot better. I thought Kyogo really perked up as well, and he played a quite important role for the second goal. Just the way he relentlessly presses the opposition goal, I just love it. Like it's exactly what you want.
There was a moment in the second half when Aberdeen kind of had this penned in, about 5-10 minutes to go, and he pressed, and he didn't win the ball back, but he put the ball out for a throw just around the halfway line, and I just thought, you've not actually been that effective today in an attacking sense, but just even when he's not playing well in terms of creating chances and getting the service, he's still such an important player. He's never missing in games, because at the very least he's working for the team. One frustration I've got is that I don't think we're getting Kyogo into games enough. I think actually it's funnily enough, games like Thursday night, we get him into them more because there's space. But I just think today there was so many times that he made the run, and it's almost as if you hear a roar from the support. The support realise he's making that run, but players either don't see it or they don't have the ability to execute the pass. And I think the one player this season, to be fair to him, and I'm a massive critic, Ryan Christie, got Kyogo's runs. They had a really good partnership, and I don't know if we've quite had another player yet who's been able to supply Kyogo, because the runs he makes every single match are amazing, and defenders don't latch onto them. He runs through himself and the ball just doesn't quite come in time.
I think you've got a spot on there. I was one of few Ryan Christie backers even just before he left. I really liked him as a player. I still do, but it's difficult because, I mean, as good as Jota has been and Forrest has been, the best you're going to get from Kyogo is when the ball's coming through the middle, when he's playing off the shoulder of either centre back and he's finding the half spaces. I know people hate that term, but when he's, I know it's football nerd stuff, I realise that, but when he's in those sort of pockets of space and he's getting a ball from, you could tell we missed Rogic today. I think he's one of the players that's capable of getting really good, a really good reaction out of Kyogo. But yeah, it's tricky because, as you say, you don't ever want to pillory him. He gives you such a good effort, but he did struggle to get into the game at times today. His body language.
Do you not think that's more down to teammates not finding him though?
I think it's a little of both. I think he always thinks that the run he's made is the right one, which is normally correct. It's normally correct, in fairness.
Always. Have you ever seen Kyogo make a bad run?
There were a couple of times today where I think he was. I don't know. He wasn't making himself that easy to be found, I thought. And there were a couple of times he looked a bit frustrated, and I thought, I know this is going to be very, very unpopular, but there's a couple of times he looked very, very annoyed at the lack of service he was getting, and I'm thinking, well, are you in the best position? But I'm going to stop even remotely criticising. It's not even really criticising Kyogo, and I'm going to stop there because I understand.
I know, it's a fine line. As I say, I just think he was making a lot of runs, and I just think a lot of the time that we're not finding him, whether it's Turnbull or McGregor, just aren't quite getting their head up, and I want to see that more from the team, because when you look at the start of the season when Kyogo was in, every single game, 3 or 4 times he's running in behind, he's getting 1-on-1s with the keeper. When was the last time Kyogo got like a 1-on-1? Was it Ferencváros home game or the away game or something like that? And I understand part of that is opposition teams, wising up to the fact that Kyogo plays. And listen, if I'm an opposition manager, the first thing I'm doing, if I'm instructing my team how to play against Celtic, I'm saying defenders, drop back deep, watch Kyogo's runs because he's the main threat. But I just think Celtic can be better and get him into the game. Talking about being better, we're getting a few people commenting saying that they can only post every minute because slow mode's on. We will sort this in future. That was my error. I'll take the full blame. I just felt it was slightly better so people aren't spamming it. We won't be able to sort it for the rest of this stream, but going forward, everyone, we will have that corrected. So you just need to make your comments really good for this stream and this stream only. I want to chat about James McCarthy because everyone will know I am his biggest fan. I will fight for James McCarthy tooth and nail. I don't want it to go unnoticed by anyone. James McCarthy's role in the winning goal today. Brilliant piece of football. He's got the ball just outside the box, shimmies it onto his left, plays a lovely deft ball, similar to the one he had against Wraith Rovers that set up the goal for Jota. Who was it to? Was it Abada or someone, or was it McGregor? No,
I would need to see it again.
And obviously it finally goes in off McGregor. Such a fortunate goal, but as the saying goes, we'll take it.
Exactly. Well, I mean, you have to make your luck in these situations. Celtic were constantly knocking at the door. The pressure was on. The movement, which we just spent about 5 minutes saying probably wasn't good enough, was actually quite good at that stage. And obviously, Forrest coming on makes a huge difference there. Of course it's a fortunate goal, but you have to be in those positions. You have to be harassing defenders enough to make mistakes. It felt like a bit like the kind of goal that we would concede. And it's what other teams look. It's just you pressure defence enough to make mistakes, and that's the kind of thing that can happen. But as I say, I mean, you'll take those every day. How much he actually knew about it, I don't know, but you'll be delighted today.
It reminded me a bit of. You remember a game we had against Aberdeen at Celtic Park in 2019 when Odsonne Edouard scored around the similar time in the match. I think it was around Christmas time. We beat them 2-1. Today felt very similar like that in terms of importance. I thought there was a phase after we scored with about 10 minutes to go where we were dropping really deep. We were struggling to actually keep the ball. Yeah. And Aberdeen didn't really create anything at all. They had one header that Juranovic does really well to head off the line from a set piece. But I think that was the only way they were scoring today, was from a set piece. I felt in general, apart from that 5-minute spell where we couldn't hold on to the ball and we dropped really deep, I thought we really played out the game, the 5 minutes of stoppage time, really well. And it feels like a massive victory. I know I asked you that at the start, but I want to go over it again because a couple of things I noticed. I was at the game today. I stayed, till the end, as I always do, to see the players doing their lap of honour. Ange today went right over to the standing section, right over. Usually wanders, 20, 30, 40 yards away from them and kind of does his clapping. Today he walked right over and he was giving it this and he was giving it this. And I think he realised how big a win today was. I think it was a huge win, I honestly do. After Thursday night, after Rangers winning today, now I know the Celtic players might not be aware of the Rangers score, but home to Aberdeen, the third best team in Scotland over the last decade or so, or the second best.
Our main rivals over the last 10 years,
well,
I'd say.
For a good few years of that, and we found a way to win today in a game that was very difficult. And I thought Ange's celebrations were really telling. He knew it was a big win, and I think everyone around Celtic Park, or the vast majority at least, had the same feeling.
Yeah, Aberdeen games are always, especially the last while. It doesn't really matter that Dermot McInnes is gone and Stephen Glass represents a different kind of challenge. Aberdeen games are always tricky. They always bring a really good away support with them, and they make our lives difficult, and they have done for. We've got the odd great result, the odd 4-0, that kind of thing. I don't know why I'm thinking of Guy Mackay-Stephen, but there was a game he scored. I think it might have been. I don't know. Lovely times, great times. But Aberdeen are always tricky. They're always tricky. We saw that at Pittodrie. Their game plan was very, very similar today, I thought, but they were trying to do more through the middle, as we discussed, and I think it's definitely we needed it for sure. After everything that's happened at Celtic the last 10, 11 days, it would have been unthinkable to lose at home today, given the occasion, and it wasn't obviously the prettiest goal, it wasn't the most overwhelmingly positive performance, but it's 3 points, and I think we talked about this before when we've kind of been able to see out games. Those ones really matter. We can enjoy the 6-0s against Dundee and how aesthetically pleasing they are, but the ones where you really grind it out and you get a result at the end, I would say they were more satisfying.
I agree that it was a big 3 points today. I was delighted with it. I would like to see us battering a team soon at Celtic Park because there hasn't been one of those in a long while, actually. I think St Mirren was the last one. I think basically every game at Celtic Park since then has been stuffy to an extent, and we're winning the vast majority of them, apart from Livingston. I would like to see Celtic getting back to that free-flowing football. I think we'll look much better when James Forrest is in the team starting and he's fully up to speed. And I'm not writing a bad off at all. I think he's going through a tough period, but I think it's been a couple of months now rather than a couple of games. But I can hear David Walton already slagging me off. Right, a couple other bits to chat about. Yassine Bouchera just there with a message. How was the Celtic fans towards Scott Brown? Scott Brown today I thought got a really good reception a couple of times. I noticed before the game when they read out the teams and they read out the Aberdeen team, the stadium announcer missed Scott Brown's name, and I was kind of going, right, what's the script here? He's obviously something big planned with Scott Brown. And then Celtic tie it into the tributes to Bertie Auld. We were all told get to your seats for 10 minutes before the game. They played the Celtic songs, the teams came out, they played You'll Never Walk Alone before that. They played a really emotional tribute on the big screens as well. And then just before the teams came out, Scott Brown and Callum McGregor, the two captains, both came out together and laid a wreath on the centre circle where they had a kind of Bertie message. I think it had the number 10 on it and all that. And I found it all a really, really emotional few minutes, and I don't just say that for the effect of entertainment or a YouTube channel or whatever. I genuinely had a bit of a lump in my throat at that moment. I think the first game at Celtic Park since the death of Bertie Auld, and I thought the club, like they did on Friday with his funeral, I thought they nailed it. I thought they got it absolutely perfect, and I thought the touch of Scott Brown coming out with Callum McGregor was great. I'd wondered if they were going to do that. In fact, I think I talked about it last week, given that the two captains are so entrenched in Celtic history, and both would have known Bertie Auld so well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I wondered if they were going to do that, and I was delighted to see them doing it. I realise I've gone a long way about to tell the viewer there about Scott Brown reaction, but I thought Scott Brown got a great reaction. On the team bus coming in, I saw that fans were going mental, and also when he limped off with his hamstring injury, he got a rapturous ovation.
The whole stadium shouting Bruni. It was sad the way he had to come off. I thought it was just his luck really. But
do you think a small part of him kind of liked it?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's got to be good. I mean, there's so few players that can come back in different colours and get the kind of reception that Scott Brown does. I mean, it's got to feel amazing. But obviously, it's kind of tinged with sadness because of the occasion. But no, I thought Scott Brown actually played really well today. He was annoying in the kind of way that Scott Brown used to be annoying for us.
I mean, Daniel there saying that he thought Scott Brown should maybe have clapped the fans. I just don't think that's Scott Brown's way of thinking. I just think Scott Brown today is coming with the intention of beating Celtic, and that's what we all loved about him. Mm-hmm. But he did have a few moments. He did clap the fans when he got off the pitch as well. But yeah, I thought that was great. One other thing I want to mention: the Green Brigade today I had a couple of protests to against the potential appointment of Bernard Higgins. They were actually doing a sit-in after the game, so yeah, I just thought we'd raise awareness to that as well. Let's get through some comments then. A lot of them about James McCarthy, so we can have a wee natter about him. Martin Weir, can you see a midfield three of McCarthy sitting with McGregor and Rogic, Euan?
I can see it, but I think honestly we'd struggle for pace, especially in Europe. I think I quite like
Turnbull have pace.
Well, no, that's a good point actually. Yeah, I can see it. My worry would be if all three could last 90 minutes together.
James McCarthy was blowing today after about 82 minutes.
The effort he put in. I really do think McCarthy was excellent today. I hope we can stop the debates about whether or not he's just
saying that because I'm here.
No, I would no.
What did you like about his performance today?
I thought some of his passing was excellent. I think he gives us longer range options that we don't tend to use as often. I think he just oozes calm, especially at times where we really needed it, when Aberdeen were pressing, when they were trying to win the midfield spaces, and McCarthy just comes in and either makes a good interception, makes a good tackle, or he just slows play down at the right time. I rate him. I think he's a good player.
I thought he was decent today. I thought he kept it tidy. At times, I think he could move the ball a little bit quicker.
True.
But I think part of that's a bit of rustiness he has and a bit of nervousness. And let's not discount the fact that he's going to be low in confidence as well, because he's barely played and he'll be well aware of the noise around him at the moment. So I think he was taking things quite easy today. He was maybe doing things in 2 touches, 3 touches when he could have done them in 1 or 2. But I thought in general he was really tidy. I thought he actually broke the play up quite well. And I think he'll be much better for having played today. Yeah. That today will be the longest James McCarthy has played in a long time. He played the full match, didn't he? So
I suppose he did.
It was when was the last time James McCarthy played a full match? I've gone on record before. I think people have written him off too early, and hopefully today is the start of him trying to kind of win people back. We got a couple of comments about James McCarthy that I'll just let you see from various people. Aaron, they're talking Thursday took a lot out of the team. Good to see McCarthy playing a full 90. Honest man, McCarthy, waste of money. I shouldn't have let that one go on the screen. But Jota again, man of the match as well. Belly saying Abada is a great prospect. He's only 20. I think we have to remember that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Craig saying actually think McCarthy was brilliant today. And just for the interest of balance, Chilpill saying that McCarthy is too slow, hardly made a forward pass. I would actually agree with that. As I just said, I think there was times when he could move it quicker, but hopefully that comes with confidence. Anyone else you want to pick out from today's performance?
I thought Carter Vickers was good. I thought Welsh's range of passing has really, really improved under Ange Postecoglou. He has the confidence to play these shorter passes but quicker. The distribution at the back's been a lot better, I think.
he's really comfortable in the ball, isn't he?
He is.
You never feel in doubt when he's got the ball. For me,
I think the improvement he was good in spells last season, but I think the improvement he's made already has been quite substantial. I think Andrew's a really good manager for him. It's not about a specific player though, in terms of a shout out. I think we've seen 2 examples now of how lethal the front three could be, with Forrest on the right and Jota on the left, and I think that's really exciting. I think the pressure we put on them for the second goal exemplified that. And Forrest, there was some really confident moments today. Took on about 3 or 4 players and then tried to get a shot away into a crowded box, admittedly. But I think that's a really good sign for the future. It's probably really obvious, but I think it's a good sign. That's a really dangerous front three potentially.
I want to pick out the 2 fullbacks. I thought both of them pretty, both missed their consistency really so far. I thought Juranovic was a real threat in that second half. Him and Jota were linking up well, and I feel like that's a partnership we need to keep an eye on as well. Yep. And on the right hand side, I thought Anthony Ralston was just excellent again. Yes, there's things he can do better. Yes, he's not the most polished footballer at times, but I think he's better than people give him credit for. There's a lot of times he'll be in tight spaces with players around him, and he'll find a way out, and he switches the play really well as well. And Jota as well. Jota, I mean, it's very easy just to assume that Jota's going to be brilliant, but the thing I love about Jota is that he actually has a real good knack of keeping the ball. Even if he has a bad touch, he wins a lot of 50-50s. There's so many times he comes out with the ball and you're thinking, how did you manage that? Final thoughts on this afternoon then, just kind of onwards to Thursday night in Hearts?
Yeah, scrappy, difficult, but really important 3 points with some very decent performances. I thought the range of heckling and chants from the Aberdeen fans was a little disappointing, but that's my only gripe. And how cold it was. I had 4 layers on, I'm still freezing. So
it's no cold in the executive boxes, I tell you that.
See, this is what you get for being the face of the channel. I'm just some wee guy with glasses. I don't get hospitality.
Just a one-off. I don't sit with the prawn sandwich brigade every game. Everyone bumped into Jackie McNamara, of course, in the at half time basically, and was chatting to Jackie, so he sends his regards to every fan of the channel. Carol Starfelt was in there as well, as I say. And Tony Clark, who's a big fan of the channel, I know he watches as well, so a big shout out to Tony. Good job, Euan. Thanks for joining me on a good afternoon for Celtic. Yes, we can play better, but it was a case of getting 3 points today. We've closed the gap to 4 points at the top, and that could change in the coming days. A lot of big matches to come over the next 6 weeks or so. We'll be with you every step of the way. Apologies again about the slow mode issue today. We will rectify that going forward. But thanks anyway, everyone, for tuning in. Take care and hail, hail.